2025 was a terrible year for most interior designers. Housing prices, mortgage rates, tariffs, and a general feeling of uncertainty had most homeowners postponing or canceling home renovations. If you want 2026 to be better for your bank account, you've got to listen to my interview with Sarah Hurt from Seattle Art Source. Sarah not only helps interior designers source, curate, and install original pieces of art into their interior designs. Her designer discounts make your jobs more profitable. If you're banking on 2026 being a better year for your business, you're going to love my chat with Sarah Hurt. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Interior Design Her podcast, real-world business education for interior designers. Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led to you starting Seattle Art Source?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on the podcast, Doug. I started the Seattle Art Source about 10 years ago, actually. This year is our 10th anniversary, which boggles my mind. It's flown by. It was really a little bit of kind of out of necessity. I was looking for art myself, was having a bit of difficulty finding what I needed in a price point that worked for me in a way that felt approachable. I figured there was also other people that felt the same way. I didn't really feel comfortable just walking into a gallery and picking out art. It felt a little intimidating. I also was adjacent to people creating art and was doing some rotating art shows in my brother-in-law's furniture showroom, just kind of happenstance, helping him out in kind of an adjacent way. And over the course of about a year and a half, formulated the plan for what became Seattle Art Source and really a way to kind of lower the barrier for accessing art and making it really a comfortable way to buy art.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how does that work for an interior designer? I'm curious, like what you actually do for them, and maybe kind of from their point of view, if you can kind of step into their shoes, what it's like working with you.
Yeah. Well, from the very beginning, working with interior designers was kind of the cornerstone of the business model because my brother-in-law was making custom furniture. There was furniture in this little showroom. I was putting art on the walls, and I was having a lot of interaction with the designers because they were ordering custom furniture from him. And I would ask them, where do you find art for your projects? Where, if you could find local artists, would you be inclined to purchase more local art? And the answer was always yes, but it's complicated to find art from local artists. It's kind of disorganized. We don't really know where to go. And so I knew that if I could access designers, they have a volume of business because of the amount of projects they have. And I knew that I could have a volume of projects for artists to place for placements. And so I immediately knew that if I could build the business model around servicing designers, that would be a really strong business model for Seattle Art Source. And so what I do is make it really easy for designers to work with us. We are by appointment only. We're very service heavy, so we do all of our mock-ups. We do renderings for designers. We offer discount. We are really sensitive to the complexities of what designers need. As you know, there's so many details in the business of what designers are doing, from tile and drawer pulls and fabric. And we know we're just one detail in the spectrum of what a designer's project is. So we are really sensitive to that. And we try and make their life really easy and make it really easy for them to include art into the scope of their project.
Could you give us a story of perhaps a specific interior designer of, like, one of your most, amazing stories?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many to choose from. I have so many beloved interior design clients, and they really do feel like partners in crime. with, um, Yeah, I think I have, I share a space with Orr Studios. Andy Beers, he's my roommate, actually, my work roommate, and he's been a client and supporter of mine since the very beginning. And he does such a wonderful job of placing art in his projects. For me and many other artists, he's such an advocate for art. And there are so many opportunities in his projects for my artists, local artists, commissions. Yeah, it's just boundless. He's such an advocate for them. And he has commissioned recently some beautiful panels from Leslie Stoner. They're just, she's one of our artists that does handmade ink and uh, pen and ink mazes. And I'm telling you, like, when a designer can envision kind of these flourishes in their projects, their their clients are really benefiting from kind of um, this elevated artistry, really, when their designer kind of uses us as a resource. That it really is amazing to see what happens to their projects.
Okay. Kind of in preparation of our chat, I spoke with a number of different interior designers that I know about how they incorporate art into their projects, and
Oh yeah.
it was a real mixed bag. Some were
Mm,
like, we don't do anything with it, like at all, right? They either the homeowners either have their own art, and it's just something they don't dive into at all, or they do help them source artwork. My wife's company, I know she works with a number of different galleries around our city in Toronto,
mhm.
and but not with somebody like you. Like, it's specifically just with the galleries, and
Yeah.
she's then limited to the what those galleries have access to. But I honestly haven't spoken with any designers who work with somebody who does what you do. And I I mean, I understand it from, diving into your content, your website, and have an idea. Can you kind of explain, like, what designers are missing out on by not either supplying art themselves, or with a gallery, or with somebody, like, what are they losing out on? Why should they be doing this?
Yeah, that is such a great question. I think one of the elements of any luxury project is going to be the art, and it's a layer, it's a finishing layer. Just like if you were designing somebody's home and you didn't put carpets in or window treatments, you know, at it's you don't have to understand everything there is to understand about marble. You might have your marble guy, right? He's your resource. He knows where to go in Italy to access that marble and bring it to you. But you have him in your back pocket to access the marble so that you can give it to your clients, so that you can elevate their projects, because that's what a luxury client really wants. And that's what I am kind of like. You know, that finishing layer of art is what a really custom project with that finishing touch really needs. As a designer, you don't have to understand everything there needs to be about art, but having me in your back pocket as a resource means that, hey, let's go talk to Sarah. Let's go over to Seattle Art Source and connect you with somebody where we can have a discussion about art with somebody who can help translate what we kind of want and to language that makes sense. So we don't have to all be experts on all things, right? You're the expert in your field. I get to be the expert in my field, and we just get to kind of bring those expertises to the table. But it's adding that finishing layer that really elevates those projects, that can distinguish a designer's practice above the crowd, right? You can get that base layer done. You can get the basics done. A lot of people can do that. If you're trying to distinguish yourself as a designer, it's those finishing touches, those details, and access to the resources and those the specialty makers that I think really will set a designer's practice apart.
And I mean, every designer is going to have a variety of clients at different price points and different comfort levels of what they can do. And whether that means supplying custom furniture versus something from, it can be a high-end store, but I mean, there's lots of homeowners who think a place like Restoration Hardware is the pinnacle of furniture that you can buy, not
Yeah.
knowing what they're missing out on with custom, right?
Well, and we have art in a huge range of price points. It was really important to me that access to art did not mean super expensive, right? We have art in the hundreds, original pieces of art in the hundreds. To and the median point of price point in our arts is like 1,800 to 2,500. It's very accessible, and I do this on purpose. Many of our clients come to purchase art for multiple placements in their home. So we're talking, if you're looking for art for 5, 6, 7 placements in your home, and each placement that adds up. We're talking, these are normal people with real houses and real budgets. I want them to know that they can come and work with us, and we're sensitive to their budgets. And having those price points in the hundreds and those smaller pieces mean that those kind of tertiary placements, those water closets, those kitchens, those hallways, those placements are important. We live and interact with those areas in our home often, and they deserve art as well. So Seattle Art Source has a sensitivity to that price point range and those size ranges so that we can work with clients in all spectrums.
Right. And this is something that I hadn't thought about that you just kind of twigged me to is designers frequently, I help designers with the business side of the business and their operations and their marketing. And one thing I have to keep hammering the point home to a lot of designers is that you need to be in contact with your past clients on a regular basis. And the pushback I frequently get is, but what reason do I have to connect with them? I'll send them a periodic email, but or some of the ones I'm closer with, I'll invite out, we'll go for coffee and talk about things. But I would assume that with art, unlike a custom piece of furniture or a new kitchen, that's only going to happen, a certain number of years, 10 years down the road, you might do another project, but art could evolve, right? Like a
Sure.
homeowner could. So I could just imagine if I'm the designer and I say, Sarah, I want to reach out to these clients again for an email blast and or a phone call or whatever. Have you got any pieces similar in the same vein as what we did for that client? And you say, oh yeah, for sure, I've got this and this and this, these are artists. And then I could then go to that homeowner and say, hey, just so you know, Sarah's got some really cool pieces that you might be interested in. And that's like just a natural way to get that conversation going again and perhaps make an additional sale and make money for your business.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
have you had that happen before where people like repeat customers?
Yeah, we have repeat customers with our designers. Obviously, we hopefully become a repeat resource for our designers, but our homeowners as well. So our homeowners evolve, their styles evolve, their home evolves, they move, and their needs transition. They buy multiple homes,
Mhm.
and sometimes a client will downsize and their needs change. So many people are right now transitioning from the big family home to a empty nester condo, and their furnishing needs change, but along with their furnishing needs change, their art needs change, and they want to refresh what's on their walls too. So all of those needs are an opportunity for us to interact with our clients. And yeah, that art collection can evolve and change just like their furnishing needs change and their collection rotates. Yeah.
Yeah. And purchasing art like this is different than what a lot of people do. I've got a friend who is just a glorious oddball, and she buys art from just the weirdest people, and it's one, and they're not expensive. They're really inexpensive pieces because these artists are totally unknown and quirky and weird. But when you go into her house now, she is an art collector, and I've told her this, and she laughs and she thinks it's funny, and I said, well, look at this, original piece. We go around her house, and
Yeah,
there, in her living room alone, her living space, there are at least 25 original pieces of art.
love it.
And so,
Love it.
yeah, yeah, you're not buying, super expensive pieces, but you are an art collector, and
Absolutely.
just, yeah, it's a different thing, right?
Right. And that's, we're here not it's such a joy to like turn that dial in someone's life to start to see the value of original art, because you start to then see it everywhere.
Right.
You start to see it when you're out traveling, when you're out eating, when you're you start to develop a palette for it. You start buying it with us, you start buying it with other people, and it becomes part of the joy in your life, like your friend. It doesn't have to be expensive to
Yeah.
engage with art buying. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong if it's expensive. If they want to buy, pieces that cost, tens of thousands of dollars, I'm sure you'll hook them up.
Sure, of course, but that barrier of entry is lower than people think sometimes. And yeah, you can start at any point, any point.
Right. Um, One of the things that struck me when I was talking, like I said, to designers before in preparation for this was that designers frequently run into homeowners who have either watched a lot of HGTV or whatever, and they think that they've got a great design eye, and they have no idea that of what they don't know. Um, some of the people, the art designers who uh, work with galleries or source art for clients themselves, I pushed back a little bit, saying, do you really think you have the expertise to be the person doing the advising for art for your homeowners? You don't talk to the plumber like you understand how to rough in a shower, right? No, well, of
Mhm.
course not. And I'm like, so what makes you, other than you're artistic and you have an eye for design, that doesn't necessarily make you an expert on sourcing art for homeowners. Maybe those designers don't reach out to you, but I'm wondering
Mhm.
if you've seen that where a designer kind of goes, "Oh, I really, I don't know what Sarah knows, and I'm going to let Sarah drive the ship here."
Well, I mean, I love it. I love any designer that calls me for help. I mean, I I will say yes to anyone that calls for help. I absolutely. Some designers are just way more comfortable picking art out for their clients and are just more art uh, fluent. Some are less art fluent, and so I'm here to step into the gap and to help the designers that just want more support picking art out.
Mhm.
Um, it is not, we shouldn't assume that just because you're an interior designer that you feel comfortable picking art out for your clients. Many don't. And so sometimes they just relegate that just to their clients and let their clients go wild and pick out art. And sometimes that's disastrous because then their clients just pick out stuff to put in their home that is completely antithetical to the design scope that they've spent years working on, right? So it's my
Yeah.
job to help marry these two things. So I can come in to the project at the beginning. So the beginning of the project, we can introduce the concept that their art is going to be part of the scope. We are introducing it to the line item on the budget. We are putting thumbnails into the design scope. Bring it in at the very beginning. We try and
Mhm.
enculturate our long-term designers, that this is should be natural, just like carpets and window coverings and all of that. um, or I can come in at the end of the project, and sometimes that is a better fit for the client. It really depends on the client. If the client wants to work independently of the designer with the art specifically because it just feels separate and more independent. And sometimes at the end of a project, the designer's like, you know what, we're done. My job's done here. I'm going to hand over Mr. and Mrs. Indecisive. They're all yours. You get to pick the art out with them. Good luck. I then kind of get to gently scoop up Mr. and Mrs. Indecisive. The designer goes on her merry way, and she knows that I'm going to take good care of the clients. The art is going to dovetail lovely and, honor the design scope that's been
Hmm.
just such hard work over the years, and put, honoring artwork that homeowners love into the project. um, Sometimes that's a better scenario, but both, we do both of those things. um, and it really just depends on how much the clients want the designer involved and where we are at in the timeline of the project.
Um, Sarah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in business here, and
Sure.
if I'm an interior designer who's considering bringing you on board one of the projects, financially, what can they expect to benefit? I mean, obviously, there's the client is going to get this incredible experience with you, but
Mhm.
what's going to end up in their bank account?
Well, at Seattle Art Source, we have an industry discount that we give designers. So they get a discount on the cost of goods when they buy art from us. And that's pretty industry standard, of course. They can our many designers also purchase art from us, and I don't know how their billing goes. Sometimes there's a markup on their end. Um, every designer works a little differently, and over the 10 years of doing this, there's, uh, you know 5 million different ways that designers do their billing, and whether they're hourly and there's a markup, or whether, you know they incorporate the discount. But we offer a discount to all of our designers. Um, if I'm working directly with a client, sometimes there's a fees involved, but there's no fees involved when I'm working with designers.
Okay.
um,
All right.
and mostly I am here to make my design clients look great and look resourced and make their lives really easy. And at the end of the day, they're going to save a lot of time. So, make and time is money. So maybe not making money, but making a use of their time. And that is a huge resource for my designers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a contentious issue amongst designers of what to do with a supplier discount, and
Yeah.
it across the board, right? Some owners expect the designer to pass on their designer discounts, whether it's furniture or lighting or working with you. And then there's other
Mhm.
designers say, "There's not a chance. This is how I make my money. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?"
Yeah. And every designer does it differently. And so I kind of stay out of that conversation with the client. I assume that there's a contract that they're all clear about. Um, and my pricing is all public facing. It's all online. You can go on my website and there's public facing pricing on all the art, and you can purchase my art online yourself. And so everybody's so used to shopping online these days, it didn't feel relevant to have hidden pricing. And so from the very beginning, I had public facing pricing.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, so then what the designer wants to do with the discount you give them is entirely up to them. If they want to pass it
Exactly.
on, if they want to keep it, if they want to tack on, because they could say, "Look,
Yeah.
this is a service that we're providing, and it's geared to work with your design as well." So that, but like you said, you leave that up to the designer.
Yeah. It's up to their discretion.
Okay. Um, Have you found when you have started working with a designer that maybe they had tried specifying art for their projects before? Have there been any aha moments where a designer, like the penny drops and they go, oh, this is why I should have hired her all along.
Yeah. And really, we have stepped into a lot of projects where there have been expensive mistakes. And the hard thing about art is the there's it's not something you can return. So when a client has commissioned something from an artist directly, purchased something online that they thought was going to work, um, yeah, buying art with no guarantee can be an expensive mistake. So we're really here to make sure to save you from making some gutterball decisions. So we do a lot of commissions with our artists, and we have a process that really is pretty bulletproof. We don't run into issues with clients where the commissions don't work out well because we've done so many of them. The communication's really clear, the expectations are really clear, and we end up with really happy clients because of that. We know what artists do really good commissions, and we make sure that the art is in the home and the approval process is really clear. So if you're buying something, we make sure that you see that art in your home before you sign on the dotted line, because the lighting is different in your home, the furnishings are different. Something that you love in my gallery can turn kind of dark and muddy when we get it into your den, and you may change your mind. That's the worst case scenario. I don't want you to be stuck with a piece of art that you don't like once it gets into your house. So we do all we can to mitigate buyer's remorse, and have a lot of policies and procedures in place to make sure that happens. And people who are, other art vendors don't do that. And so when you're working with us, it's a really, smooth and guaranteed process that you're going to end up being happy.
Okay. I think I'm probably stepping outside of the scope of your expertise, but you mentioned about a piece of art looking muddy or something like that,
Hmm.
and it got me thinking of a project years ago that my wife worked on. Was lighting,
Yeah.
right? Do you get involved with that kind of thing, or do you know somebody who can advise on lighting specifically for how to light art?
Yeah, I mean, I have opinions about lighting.
Yeah,
Yeah, we certainly have. Lighting is so critical when it comes to art, for sure. I will give my clients guidance on how to light and temperature for bulbs and all that kind of stuff. And if they really are at the stages when they're building out the the lighting, we can give them some referrals for sure. But it can make or breaks the art to have a good lighting.
yeah. So I
Hmm.
think that kind of ties back to when we were talking about how when you step into a project, sometimes you're there from the start and sometimes
Yep.
you come at the end. And I would say, like in terms of something like lighting and placement as well, obviously, um, that it may be more advisable to have be involved sooner.
Yes, and we've had clients, you know, purchase art from us before the house is built, so that the art, so that the elevations are accommodating this specific piece of art, right? So
Right.
from the very beginning, they want to accommodate this drawing or this painting, and everything revolves around that specific title. Um, which is, those of course are the dream clients that we love those guys.
Yeah.
Um, and that way we can reverse engineer how the lighting is, make sure it works correctly, for the work of art. It's easier to do that than have to go in and move
Yeah.
the hard wiring afterwards.
No, no, that's going to be annoying and take time and take money. I could also see, if I'm gonna, like, pick nits, if I'm a designer that maybe is working with a homeowner that is a a bit not I mean, all homeowners should be, budget conscious. I mean, unless you're working with, like, ultra wealthy homeowners. Um, if they bring you in and now there's an art budget of X number of thousands of dollars, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some designers who are a little wary because they would rather that budget go to their design work rather than, you know, art. Hold on one second. Someone was
Oh, a
climbing
friend.
into a paper bag. What were
Mm.
you doing? What were you doing, Sunday? Huh? Hmm? Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Sunday.
Sunday, it's my daughter's cat.
Oh, cute.
Like ice cream sundae.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to the business.
So we're talking about getting territorial around the budget.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh, that's a tough one. If a designer is getting territorial around a line item on the budget, then they're going to use me as a store, and that's fine. You know, I I don't I'm here to be a resource to them in whatever way works for them, you know. And um I have designers that come and just tell me exactly what they need. I just wrap it up and they scoot it out the door, and I don't know anything about the project. They're just decisive. Their clients trust them. They
Mhm.
I know little about where it's going to end up. And I have other designers that give me the elevations and I make suggestions and I know every little detail about the project because they are relying on my expertise. All of those scenarios are fine, you know. Yeah, I say all yes to all of the above.
They're just different,
Yeah,
right?
just different needs. And I'm here to be a resource in whatever capacity works for my designers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I thought when we connected that I thought what a great idea. And then after speaking to designers, realizing that the vast majority are not taking advantage of a service like yours, and maybe a service like yours doesn't exist in every city, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm not even limited to Seattle. I'm here in Seattle, but I have clients in that, you know, access me from other places. We're all connected through the internet. It's, geography is not really a limitation anymore. So Toronto has great galleries, but of course I have clients that are calling me from Nashville and from New York and all over the place. So designers can use me as a resource outside the Pacific Northwest.
For sure. But that is probably pretty cool for you that you get to rep local artists and expand their brand across the continent.
Yeah, I specialize in artists from the Pacific Northwest, and I do have a few artists that I represent that are from outside the region, but the bulk of I have about 40 artists on my roster.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so I would also guess that correct me if I'm wrong, that a number of designers probably become more art fluent after working with you.
Yes. And that's been a wonderful kind of evolution to see after, a relation after 10 years of being in business. Of course, I have really wonderful embedded relationships with some of my designers some of us have been in business about the same amount of time, and getting to see their businesses evolve and grow and alongside mine and their fluency around art grow. It's just been really gratifying. So I love that. We're all growing together.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, I've run to the end of my official list of questions that I had for you. Is there anything that you think I've missed that designers should know about you and your business?
Well, I think it's important just to remember not to be intimidated by the process. I think we can, you know, just like anything else, it's one element that we can educate ourselves on. And if it feels intimidating, there's somebody out there that knows something about it. It can be me. There might be somebody in your community or in the city where you live that does something like what I do, but it's just a little bit of education. Art does not have to be rarefied. And the drum beat that I'm beating is just the barrier to entry is lower than people think. The budget doesn't have to be super high. We can enjoy it and engage with it and incorporate it into our projects in a way that's meaningful, um, in a easier than I think we were led to believe before. Our art at Seattle Art Source is refined enough for designers to engage with most budgets. And so that's always been our goal, and that's the service we provide for our designers. Again, you can look at seattleartsource.com. It's all the art is there online to review, and it's available nationwide. We ship nationwide, but there might be somebody in your community that does something like this. But yeah, we access clients all over the nation. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that because, like I said, as I was prepping and the designers I was speaking to, I think most of them went to your website and looked at it and they thought it was, oh, this is a good idea. And then they had some questions for me. But I think that they had immediately penciled you in as like while your prices were on the website, which would make me think that like anybody, this is for anybody to buy.
yeah,
They had in their head that the idea that it was local, and they're like, oh, we need this kind of thing in Toronto. And I'm like, well, one, feel free. Like there's a business
yeah,
idea, right? Um,
meet the need.
but right, but you do, you work with designers, outside of Seattle, outside of the Pacific Northwest. So, if I was a
Absolutely.
designer and I could be, wherever, USA, Canada, wherever, and I wanted to work with you, how would that, obviously they go to your website, but what would the first steps kind of look like?
The first steps the first steps for a designer would be to email me. And the dialogue is really basic. Sarah at seattleartsource.com. And they can ask me questions. They can inquire about a specific painting. We can get into the weeds about the process, but I'm an open book. I have my email is open to anybody, and they can dialogue directly with me. I do all the communication with my B2B clients. So
Oh,
Sarah at seattleartsource.com would be the best way for designers to get in touch with me directly. And then we have an inquiry page on our website if they have questions about specific paintings. And I have a staff that is here ready to answer those questions.
okay. Well, this has been great. I mean, I thought it was a smart idea when I first ran into it, and I think it's even a smarter idea now.
Well, awesome. And I love this podcast. You answer so many like straightforward business questions. Designers, I mean, we love them. They're creative. They go to school to learn how to design, but nobody teaches them how to run businesses. And those are two totally different skill sets. And as I've learned, you know, I know about art and paintings, but nobody has taught me about how to run a business. And I've had to go and learn how to do that on my own. And that's, all these resources are out there for people, and it's just, so valuable. So thank you for doing this podcast.
Oh, thank you. That wraps up my conversation with Sarah Hurt from Seattle Art Source. If you've never thought of art as a profit center for your interior design business, I hope you're thinking about it now. If you found this episode valuable, I would really appreciate if you could leave me a 6-star review and hit that subscribe button. See you next week.